Smile. So how was this week?
Good.
Okay.
It was good, but challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you learn a lot?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
We were running down to the wire, so yep.
That happens. What was did you learn something from I think I saw that you said something about we were overthinking a solution or something.
Yeah, we were using a use effect when we didn't have to, but we still would like feedback on our solution because it's not complete enough to do a pull request.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure Radhika or Michael would be happy to do that when they come. So, okay, it's 3:03, and I said I would wait till 3:03, but in order to keep this thing on time, we will go ahead and launch into demos, and they can jump in when they get here or watch the recording if they're unable to make it. So, who wants to go first? I know you said that yours kind of isn't fully complete yet, but if you want to talk through it and show us what you've got, that's fine too.
Yeah, 1 second, let me pull it up. Share my screen. Okay. So this is what we've been practicing on, what we've been using, this list. And if I filter with A, it works just fine, uppercase or lowercase. Mm-hmm. However, the second character is not being recognized or anything after that. So I can only do one character.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so your issue was to just completely
worked.
filter the list, right?
Yeah, I'm confused now because I can type in avocado and it works, but I can't type in avocado.
Cool. Do you want to show us what's going on in the code, and we'll?
Yeah, and I think it may have something to do with how we set up our 2 uppercase or 2 lowercase. But basically, we added a on change, and we added a.
Oh, I think that we can't see your editor.
I wonder what that setting is, because that happened last week.
When you share your screen, it'll give you the option to choose. Okay, we can see it now.
Okay.
We won't spend too much time digging in, but I definitely want to see what's going on, and maybe Radhika can jump in with some solutions if she sees me. If not, what we'll do is after this, take a little time to see what we can come up with. Cool?
Okay.
All right, let's see it.
The input, we have an on change function, and the value is a filter input, which is a new state we set up here. The on change function, which is called handle change, sets the value to the input. And then we also have a little X button, which clears the input box. So down here, we have our actual DB items. So before we were just mapping over the list of items, but now we included a dot filter to see if any of the names includes anything from the filter input. The last thing we did was included a 2 lowercase, which may be throwing us off.
Okay,
Not
so it might be maybe not the incoming text that's getting recognized.
Yeah.
I see what you mean with that one now, yeah.
But this filter, all this is checking to see if the filter input is included in any of the list, and then it maps through all the ones that are included. So
do you want to try adding a 2 lowercase to the name as well, and then just quickly running that locally and seeing if that works?
This one down here?
Line 63, item.name.2 lowercase there. Which I know is really messy, but just for the case of this right now.
Okay. I apologize. I thought I was running, but I'm not. Maybe. Sorry, I'm just waiting for it. Oh, there it is.
No problem. What are pre-birds?
That's also, I had that question. I don't
Are they eggs, you guys?
Has anyone ever seen Parks and Rec?
know.
Uh-huh.
So Tom had all these different names, and one of his
Oh,
names was pre-birds. So on my phone,
Right.
it autocorrects to pre-birds.
Auto-corrected.
I set up all
That's
these
great.
words to auto change.
I love it. Oh,
Oh, yep.
there you go.
I think I solved our problem. Yeah.
sweet.
Okay. Then,
Awesome.
so that is the more simple solution that Radhika and Michael helped us get to because we had a lot going on.
Awesome. So like, did you spend some time reflecting together on like how next time you could try and sort of come up with the simplest solution first before like implementing a bunch of stuff that you were spinning your wheels on? Because if you haven't, it might be good to kind of like get together and just kind of talk about that because it's going to be really useful like in the future to sort of, you know, figure out ways that you can refine that and create a plan first so that you can like move harder and faster instead of being like really getting deep into the weeds.
Thank you.
Very good. Great work though.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next group.
Okay, so that'll be me and Matthew, and I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'll show you, let's see, I think I've got it up and running. Yeah. So let's see, I guess I'm probably just gonna get a new token here. Just add my Nana like I always add. And so we have some checkboxes here. And all this is gonna do is it's gonna get checked, and in 24 hours, it's gonna automatically uncheck itself. That's all it does.
Cool. And so what's that look like
That
in
was
your database?
hard. That was hard to come up with, surprisingly. So, because it was hard to find the update function, which is really the key thing to all of this for Firebase. So these functions right here are the main changes that we made in the item list file. So the big thing here is that when you click on the checkbox, it's going to take in that event into handle change, and it's going to pass the target value into the document. And that's super important because I had to make another change over in the form. This was what I was doing when I was breaking everything right before Matthew and I got on a call, was actually this little part right here, which was just that if you want to change the ID for a document in a collection, when you create it, you've got to specify in the document what you're going to change. So now when you add an item, the ID is the same as the item's name. And so that makes it easy to use the update function because now we can point at the document for the item name that's been clicked, value is the name, and then we can update with whatever field we want to update. And so that made it super simple. And then from there, it was a little bit complicated for us to figure out the whole time situation. Like Matthew and I initially were like, we just want to get those seconds, and then we want to just do a little math and subtract 24 hours worth of seconds, and that'll be that. The only thing that was kind of like tripped us up was that none of us realized that get time was in milliseconds. And the Firebase, when it accepts a date, it creates a timestamp object that has seconds and nanoseconds. And so you grab the seconds from the date purchase field that we create, which has the date that you clicked on it. And then we have to just convert the get time to seconds from milliseconds. And then we just do a little comparison and return true. And so this is our Boolean that handles whether or not that box is checked. Once that Boolean is false, it will uncheck itself. And it becomes false if the time elapsed is greater than 24 hours. And that's it.
Cool. Great work. Very detailed explanation. I love it. Any questions on this one? Anybody? It's a very good solution. It's very creative. I love it.
Michael helped us a lot.
We've seen like a lot of people will use like like another library that deals with dates, so they don't have to do that extra math. So that's something that's available to you if you want to. But it's cool that you rolled your own.
Yeah, I
Very
had no
impressive,
idea.
very
That's
awesome. Anything else you want to talk about? Demos? We'll jump into retro where we can kind of like flesh things out, but if there's anything that you like learned that you thought was really neat or something, we have plenty of extra time here to chat about it.
The debugger thing. One thing, we've been introduced to debuggers in bootcamp for sure, like we've gone over it, but I didn't know that that was just like a keyword you could slap into your code anywhere you want, and then it would just hit that keyword and enable the debugger if you have your DevTools open. Michael showed that to us, and that was really, really helpful.
That is an awesome
Just that
trick. You should
keyword.
write a blog post about that.
I don't know how people have time to write blogs. I do
That's
not
fair.
have the energy to do that.
I feel like the key is like being okay with them being very short. Just like,
Right.
here's how you use debugger in your code. Stick it
Yeah.
here, and this is what it looks like. And this is an example.
Blog posts are full of so many typos. I don't care about editing. It's just
Yeah. And mostly like my blog posts, I go back to for myself all the time. Like there's documentation for myself. And I've had like people on Twitter be like, I just found your article and it was so helpful. And I was like, oh, you used it too? I hope you didn't read too close because I'm sure there's something wrong in there. But they're really good for reference. So that if you ever like need to teach somebody that, or you're like, wait, how do I do that again? There it is. So that's a good one. That's an
Good point.
awesome little tip. What other things were cool or informative or kind of like aha moments for you this week?
Oh, I was telling you this before, just real quick. If you stick a console log that's calling to the data inside the use effect, you'll break the database. That's how I did it. That's how I broke it. So just FYI, everybody else.
That every single cohort has maxed out that limit at some point. So you've been initiated. Welcome. This is like, I was going to talk about this a little bit in retro, but it's a good thing to have happen in this safe space at Collab Lab because it's a beautiful experience to talk about in interviews and stuff. So if they're like asking you about challenges you've faced like on a team or, you know, like this is like our production database, you know, so you can talk about that and solutions to it and like what challenges you faced and stuff. So this could be a good like thing to talk about as far as your experiences go in that kind of setting. Other things, other cool things. Still got a couple minutes.
Something else that Michael also helped us with when we were pairing with him was initially we had, I forget what we called it, but we had another thing that we added to state, like it was a Boolean value for true or false. He kind of pointed out that we really didn't need to add that to our database. That could be handled on the front end. And so it's kind of just a reminder that just to hold kind of as little in state as we need to. And let the front end kind of do more of the work in certain situations. And so that was really helpful for us. And it totally changed the way that we ended up solving what we were trying to do. We definitely reworked it after that.
Nice. So you had like the 24-hour Boolean storing in the database instead of just calculating it and checking it on the front end.
Yeah, we had it like when you checked it, it turned to true. And then when it was going through the use effect, we were going to check how long it had been since it was first marked true. And then it'd like uncheck it. I think we had it do that. Yeah, I forget exactly what it was. But we were making it do more work than it needed to.
Cool. Another brilliant experience to talk about in interviews.
Yeah.
I love it. Keeping that shrinky dink little database small.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Really good advice.
That's awesome. Sounds like you guys learned a lot from Michael this week. That's awesome. Did you like having those like live pairing sessions? Is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially because he was saying a lot of things that like I feel like it makes perfect sense, but me and Rachel weren't getting it for.
Yeah, we both at the same time were just like,
we're like, can you explain it again?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But once he explained it again, it was like, oh my God, now I totally see it. And it just streamlined everything so much and knocked out like a lot of lines of code.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good to hear. As somebody who also pairs with Michael regularly, I can validate that he is great for pairing with. A+ Michael, who should be here soon-ish. Okay, On that note, anything else? Any other cool things? I want to hear all of them. Anything like about, I know that we had this, this PR is going to be rolling in soon. Any kind of like time management tips that you've come up with that you want to like share amongst yourselves to sort of help each other figure that out? No, it's fine. It's totally fine. You don't have to say anything. Have you like figured out a good way for yourself personally to sort of like manage your focus? That's something that I've like noticed I have to like rein myself in, like, okay, stop searching this one thing, like go back to drawing board, you know, kind of like the we were going after like a way too complex solution, like, and then coming back to the simpler one. Do you have any ideas about like how in the future you can be like, let's go back to the drawing board sooner than later, like stopping points?
Yeah, I feel like I don't time box things enough. And like at one point, Haley and I were like, oh, it's been an hour and a half and we've been like spinning our wheels. And then you're kind of just like burnt out on that one problem. So you have to come back. So definitely just saying like, we'll spend 30 minutes on this. And if it doesn't work, then we'll think of something else.
I love that. That's perfect. Great advice.
I'm curious
Okay.
about
Oh,
now that we're 4 weeks in, what is the balance that y'all are doing as far as individual coding time and pairing coding time? Like, I guess what percentage are y'all spending on both? And do you think it's changed in the past 4 weeks?
that's a great question.
Individual as part of this, or as part of like other projects or work, or
Specifically this, although I mean like any kind of, I would assume that work wouldn't have as much of an emphasis on pairing.
yeah. Most of my actual coding on this, I've only really done pairing, but then I've done kind of a bit more research on my own. Like I was actually just before this call doing a Firestore tutorial on Ninja, because I really, that's my biggest weakness at the moment with this project. But yeah, it's mainly been, I think I've maybe about an hour a week I've spent documentation, and then all the actual coding I've just done through the pairing.
That's awesome. That's surprising to hear. That's really cool. What about the rest of you? What do you think yours has been like?
I'd say it's been about the same from the beginning. Most coding time has been pairing time. So I think it's more beneficial, at least for me, is like learning from someone else and talking it out. So like, I know my way of doing it, like working with JLo this week, like usually I'll find references for something and use that. Like you said, I don't want to be stuck in finding this one specific thing because it's probably not going to be, it's not going to fit into the project exactly. So why waste your time on it?
Totally. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you're doing so much of the pair programming together and the research solo. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, that's
Anybody
how
else?
I've been doing it too. That seems to be like the easiest way to do it, is like I kind of have an idea that we talk about initially, do some research before we pair, so I have something to bring to the table kind of. And then when we pair, we do the coding.
That's amazing. Last thoughts on it? Pair programming, one last question, just because I'm really curious. Did you feel like after the pair programming presentation that you kind of like shifted your approach at all? Or did you find other things that worked better for you? Or
After that, I kind of found it funny yesterday when Jayla mentioned that we were doing it for an hour and a half, and then we had some sort of like issue where like we were able to switch back and forth after every half hour, either by circumstance or it's like, do you want to take a stab at it kind of thing. So was able to do that at least.
cool. Awesome. Welcome, Michael. Hi.
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm late. No good excuse other than time slipped away.
That's fair. Okay, so let's jump into retro because we have about 30 some minutes left, and we'll get to it. I think Radhika, you have the board, right?
Well, I'll post it in chat, but also if you're on the GitHub already, it's just one of the projects.
Thank you. Thank you for getting this ready.
All right, Michael.
All right.
You want to kick us off?
So, yeah, I can take it away. So this, just like we did 2 weeks ago, we're going to do a retro, and just to help you remember the context and the idea behind this meeting. This is a meeting that a lot of professional software engineering teams do to kind of do some introspection on how the team is working. It's easy to keep going and going and going and going and never have a chance to stop and think about like what's working, what's not. So this is a time for teams to reflect and talk about the things that are going well, so you can make sure you keep doing those, and talk about the things that aren't doing well and have this kind of the tough discussions about that. And it's also a time to just be super honest. So we're going to create cards in these 3 columns. Make sure that you put a card in, the only requirement I'm going to put here today is that you put one in appreciations. It's always really good to let other people know what you appreciate. This is actually something I'm working on myself, where I think about how much I appreciate all these people I work with, but I never say it to them, and then they just don't know. So you have to be vocal about that. So make sure you put one thing in the appreciation column, but otherwise, we'll take a few minutes. We'll take 7 minutes here, and or maybe less if everyone's ready, and just put some cards down on these 3 topics. So, all right, heads down time. How's everyone doing? Are we all done? Or if you need more time, just say something.
I need a little more time.
Okay, cool. We got at least 2 minutes. All right. It is 6:30 or 3:30 if you're joining us from the West Coast. Like I think almost all of you are, right? At least I'm outnumbered here. All right, we have a lot of stuff here. So we'll start off with the appreciations because everyone likes all the good, warm, fuzzy feelings here. We'll start off with that. So we'll just go through that really quickly, and then we'll dive in a little more with what went well and what could be improved. So here I'll do the top 2 are mine here. I'll let you, as the one who created the card, verbalize it. So I'm not reading them all for you. So I put here unrelated to Collab Lab. Thanks, Stacy, for helping me refund. I thought I'd put it here just because it's related to programming. I was testing a feature when writing something as Zapier a month ago. A few days, I guess, 33 days ago now. And we have a feature that automatically upgrades you if you get on a free trial. So I put my PayPal in and was testing to make sure it worked. And then I forgot about it, and then it charged me. So Stacey helped me refund that so I can get my money back.
Seems relevant to like the Firestore issue that we had this week. Like those kinds of things happen when you're testing things.
You just forget about it. You just want to get the thing done, and then yep, it's all good. And then thanks to Matt and Rachel for hanging out with me on Friday. I had a really fun time pair programming with you. So and then I have one down here. Thanks Radhika for prepping this board. I should have done that, but I lost track of time. So thank you, appreciate that. All right, Haley.
So where is my diaper?
I'm gonna share my screen here.
Okay.
And then
mine is thanks to Radhika and Michael for taking the time last night. It was probably later for you to look at our code and provide some hints. Not really like giving the actual answer, but definitely led us down the kind of proper way to fix it.
It looks like I might have missed it from earlier, but it looks like your PR got merged in.
I think Jayla moved it. There's one last spot that I think it needs to be refactored a little bit or something.
Yeah, I closed that first one and I'll open a new one right after this call. But Radhika helped us with the last little line just at the beginning of the call. So we're good to go now.
Cool. All right. Jayla, you're up next with your appreciation. Is that your GitHub user? Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. Thank you to you both for your quick feedback this week. I know we kind of asked for help kind of at the last hour, but thank you both for just being so helpful.
No worries. That's what we're here for. All right. Rachel, this is you. I'm still bad at remembering what people's GitHub
Oh no,
usernames
that's
are.
okay. It's just my last name.
Okay, yeah.
So I wanted to thank Matthew because I had some problems this week with our schedule. So thanks for being flexible, and thanks for also accepting the idea for pair programming, because that was super worthwhile. Michael taught us all kinds of cool stuff, and now we can use debugger whenever we want. So thank you. I appreciate both of you guys.
Awesome.
Me again.
Jayla?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's
me.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay, it is you.
Same thing. Thank you, Haley, so much for being so flexible. I did get sick on Friday, so I kind of had to push everything back, and she was super understanding. So thank you.
All right, Matt, I think you have one here.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, similar to what Rachel just said. Just thanks for Michael for pairing with us on Friday and teaching us a few very important things and introducing us to that debugger keyword, which I'm sure I'll be throwing into more code in the future.
Oh yeah, you just have to be careful not to commit it.
Another good point. Thank you. I will be sure.
Yeah. All right, and Radhika and Stacy. Oh, you're muted.
To figure out where the button was. Anyway, appreciation for Michael for stepping up and pairing with the mentees this week. When I logged into like chat on like Thursday or something, I was like, oh, new messages. And then Michael was already on top of it. And like all your Firestore problems were already solved. So I was like, great, I have to do less.
Okay, and mine were appreciation for Michael and Radhika for being on top of all of these, sharing all these insights and helping everybody so much. You guys are amazing mentors. And I appreciate Michael and Rachel for taking the time to share those regex resources, because I had to pop in and use them this week. And I was like, here they are, thank you. So, yeah.
You had to use them outside of Collab Lab?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, nice.
Sure did. Okay, but thank you. So much appreciation for all of you. You're amazing.
All right, so we can go now. So to talk about these other two columns, generally we can read through the what went well, and I'll read them here so we can speed through them. It's good to kind of reinforce the things that are going well. And if there's anything here that when I read it off after I'm done with all of them, you want to just talk about a little more, just let me know. Generally, what happens in these formats is, and maybe we can do it next time, is you have 30 seconds to vote which one you want to talk about, and then the one that gets the most votes we talk about. But I'll just read through all these here. So the feedback we received was clear and easy to understand. It really helped us get to that final step. That is awesome. Working around flexible schedules again and unforeseen conflicts, especially tackling 2 issues in 1 week. That's cool. Great pairing with Rachel. I thought we communicated well, and I was really pleased with the result we came up with. The work seems to be getting more technical and difficult, but you all seem to be keeping up, and I'm impressed with that. That one I wrote myself. After getting some insight into how we could be thinking and react more, our solution got a lot more simple. Excellent, excellent. I want to hear a little more about that one after I get done reading. Mentees continue to do really well with pairing and learning together. The communication and technical skills with this group is next level. As a mentor, it is amazing to know that I don't have to motivate y'all to keep going. I just have to show up and give a few nudges here and there to make y'all help y'all make progress. Also, thank you all for being brave enough to ask for help when you get stuck. That's a big one. It shows low ego, which is a great trait to have. And Stacy, the last one here. So much open communication and Slack across the board. This is really, really fantastic. And sharing learnings with the team. So I wanted to hear a little more about the the words thinking and react. Where did that one go?
That was mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one. So tell me about this one more. Why did you write this one?
You brought that up when we were cleaning up how to get that Boolean. We were really insistent on having that Boolean in there, when really we had like a true false condition available to us all along as soon as we put that date purchased in there, and that was the condition that this whole thing revolved around. And so when you brought that up, like it's all about like thinking in React more and like using the least amount of state, like that's what brought us to the solution. So
yeah,
which ended up being so much more simple than how we were going about it.
I really like that. That thinking and React tends to lend itself to keeping like it's the smallest amount of state possible. And if you can figure out something based on the state you have, you should go with that rather than create new state. Yeah, that's really awesome that we got to experience that this week. Anyone else want to talk about any of these other what went well cards? All right, awesome. Good work, everyone. So we have a few cards here for what could be improved. I'm going to read through them again, and I wanted to just give us a little more extra time to talk about these, because generally with the appreciations, well, they're easy to talk about, but then the what could be improved sometimes can take up a lot more of the space in the conversation just because you're working through issues. But please, be honest and give us your true thoughts there. So I'm gonna read through them though. I feel like I could be more engaged with y'all earlier in the week. So we get off the call Sunday, and then it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'm like, well, I wonder how everyone's doing. But in those 3 days, I feel like I could be doing more. So if you have feedback there, I'd like to know. We have one here, scheduling for time research earlier in the week, time management for myself, and reach out when spinning stuck on a problem. I definitely need to focus on taking time to think about the simplest solution rather than digging in for what might work. That's a good one. So time boxing problems so we don't spend so much time spinning our wheels. Asking for help sooner rather than later. I let a bit of tunnel vision slip in this past week while I was driving. So a reminder to slow down and step back from the code from time to time. I like that one. I'd love to see more check-ins before code is written about the research progress, ideas for solutions before it comes time to code, so we can discuss whether mentees are on the right path before a PR is submitted, which often feels too late. And then we'll round out with this last one. Let's do some time boxing like Jayla mentioned, so we can be sure we're servicing questions sooner. And the solution to the Firestore issue. Okay, so I think there's like a really big theme of most of these cards around time management and planning. Do y'all agree?
Yeah, can I just say something really quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, about more check-ins before the code is written. That seems like such a great idea. What would be a good way to do that? The first thing I thought when you read that out was that maybe like every time we pair, we can just like put kind of something into the Slack that just says what our progress was. Just a quick little like progress check-in, basically.
Yeah, so a lot of teams do a thing called stand-up where every day they talk about what they're doing and then if anything's blocking them. And sometimes it's fine to say like, oh, I'm just researching and planning, but it just gives everyone a way to see like on a bird's eye view what everyone's up to. That might, I think at the beginning of Collab Lab, I would have said it's heavy-handed for us, but maybe it's not. So what do y'all think about that?
One thing that like other cohorts have done in the past is like kept really robust notes about their process and their progress in GISTs or in the issue and stuff. So instead of like dropping those in Slack every day, if you can just be like more verbose about the notes that you're taking, like on your GitHub issue, or if you draft PR or something, somewhere where you and your partner can like kind of collaborate on what your progress has been so far and what all you need to continue doing and what the next steps might be. That would be a good place for your mentors to be able to reference and see the full story in one spot.
One thing about the planning the code before you write the code, I am a firm believer that you should be able to verbalize, like in document, I guess you should be able to articulate in documentation or like face-to-face with another human, what you want to do with the code before you write it. So if we would go back a week in time, if you're talking about filtering things from a list, you have to go beyond to just say like, I'm going to filter things in a list. Well, how are you going to filter them? Well, I think maybe I'll query, I'll send a filter statement to Firebase. Maybe there's an API for that. And then you go and research, oh, they don't have that. So then you verbalize, well, I think once I get the results, I'll just remove the items from the list that don't match the filter criteria. And how are you going to remove them? Well, I'll use the filter function. So you can like do those kind of things and write it down before you even start writing the code. So I try to do that with bigger things. If it's like a one-line change, I'll just jam it out. But if I'm planning something, especially that someone else has to integrate with, I'll try to like communicate with that person and say, hey, I planned on doing this. What do you think? So yeah, I think that might be nice for us. Like, you know, just like a quick few sentences on how you plan on tackling it. What do you all think?
I think we've set out 3 different possible solutions to this, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone. So do whichever you want.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the progress check-ins after pairing, whether it's the planning and issues, or whether it's having a Slack message or something that says, here's how we plan to do this. Either of those 3 are great. I just think I think this also aligns with what Michael was saying about checking in earlier in the week. I think just from my perspective, a majority of the week until like the latter half is kind of like a black box. So I would just like to see more of anything. So literally whatever you're comfortable with, let's start from there. And if it's not good enough, we can iterate from there.
Love it. That's perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to check in earlier in the week, and we're going to focus a little bit on time boxing so that we can make sure we're not spinning our wheels and we're moving forward. If there are no last thoughts about that, we'll pop into the project board and start kind of organizing what's going to happen next week. Good with that?
All right.
Any other thoughts? Okay. Do you want to go ahead and open it since you're right there? Cool. So it looks like in progress, we still have issue number 9. That's still in progress, right?
I think that's what they were saying. You're your meeting.
Yes, that's ours.
Awesome.
So it's done, and I'll open the pull request.
Okay, and then number 8 has this been merged?
Not merged yet, but it should be good to go.
Okay, as soon as it gets merged, we'll just move that over. And so let's take a look at the next 2 issues and decide who's going to do what. Do we know who the pairs are at this point? I can pop in and find them. Give me one sec.
Me and Jay
I always forget where to look, but I'll type it here in the chat once you say it.
Sure. It's in the project brief. And it's, what week is it? It's February 7th? No.
23rd.
23rd? Okay. Haley and Rachel, and Matthew and Jayla. Okay, so one of the issues is, as an item, I want my estimated next purchase date to be computed at the time my purchase is recorded in the database. So basically calculating dates and storing those in the database. And issue number 11 is, as a user, I want to delete items from my shopping list in the cases where I made an error or I don't need to buy the item in the future. So that one is pretty self-explanatory, just deleting items from the view and database. Who wants to take what? Anything stand out? You want to jump in and grab it first? Nobody cares? There's going to be some good math involved in one.
I think if you like interacting with like databases and backends and doing like API calls, I think that number 11 is going to be really good for you. But if you like math and algorithms, number 10 is something up your alley.
I kind of was
Does that
aiming
help?
towards 11.
Yeah.
All right.
I've done the number 10 for work and it was a pain in the butt. So.
Uh-oh. You're really selling it.
And I have to do it again soon. So I'm like, I really don't want to do more math.
All right. Haley and
Time zones.
Rachel then are number 10.
All right.
Or wait, or number 11.
Or number 11, sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
number 11. I'm like, oh, good. You don't want that one?
Number.
That's the one you get.
That's how it
Just
works.
kidding.
It's opposite day. Maybe on leap day we can all be opposite day.
Awesome. Okay,
God,
so
look at how few are left, you guys.
I know it's
weird.
wild.
Crazy.
This is going really fast. Okay, so we'll do some breakout rooms. Michael, Radhika, which one of you wants to go which direction?
I'm calling dibs on this call because I created the one last week, the other breakout room. But I
Okay.
think if you leave, won't it end the meeting?
I'll stay in it, but which
Okay,
issue?
okay.
Who do you want to stay with you in this room?
I'll jump in
You-
on number 11.
Okay, because you kind of worked, didn't you kind of pair on the date stuff last week?
I paired, with having it checked for 24 hours after you
Okay.
click it.
So not
Which is like-
terribly related. Cool. Okay, then you'll stay in here with Haley and Rachel, right? And Radhika got a new room
We'll
ready
make
to
one right
create.
now.
All right.
Back in a second.
Okay, with that, it was so good to see you all. You did an amazing job. Good luck next week. Be loud, ask questions, and learn a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh, maybe see you Friday. Well, if you're staying.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I will be there on Friday for sure.
Awesome.
Jealous.
All right, so breakout.
Yep,
Just
cool.
lurk.
All right. So, like I was saying before, we can take this time to first read the card, and then we can take a few minutes to verbalize how we think we're going to solve it. And if we have, you might not have the solution on hand right now. It might take you a day to go look up, like do some research, but we can create some leads here because we're going to be interacting with Firebase, and Firebase provides us an API to interact with it. So we can kind of use our developer brains to form some hunches, I think, before this call's over. So anyone want to read the card and the acceptance criteria for us?
Sure. So I'll read it. See, a user is able to delete an item from the shopping list. Prompt the user to confirm that they really want to delete the item to prevent accidental deletions. Deletion should cause the associated records in the database to be deleted.
All right. So, okay, imagine a week from now, the changes are all done. What kind of things are you thinking that you're going to introduce on this card? Like, what is the PR? I guess not the PR, but I guess let's change that line of thought. What kind of UI do you think you're going to add for this?
Seems like something next to each of the list items would be kind of like an Xbox. So you can say, I want to press on this X next to it, and that should bring up a prompt that says, are you sure you want to delete that? Yes or no? And then yes would actually delete it, and then no.
Something like a button.
Shouldn't change anything. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Does anyone want to take notes on some of our discussion here? We can probably just drop it right into Slack. But if either of you want to take notes.
Yeah, I got some notes.
Okay. What about the deletion though? What do you think that looks like?
So actually, on the documentation I was looking up for update, delete is in that same page. It's the next thing.
Okay. Do you have a link to share with us in the chat here in Zoom?
Yeah, it's in Slack. So let me look it up in Slack real quick because I shared it when we were all having them problems before. So let me see. Ah, that lost. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. It's in the read and write. So let me grab it.
I think I just have that open.
Ah.
I closed
I
it.
think I found one link here.
It
This
made my-
looks close to what, if not it.
Where's this? Delete. That's probably it. Oh my God, nothing is working on my computer right now.
It's okay.
No. Okay, so that was.
Is this what you had in mind though, this link that I posted here? I Googled like Firebase delete and this is the first thing that came up.
Yeah, that's what broke. So I need just another second.
Okay.
Okay, calm down. Calm down, buddy. Okay, so.
Okay, that makes sense with the, because you had your dot
Oh,
update
yeah.
in yours, and so this is like a simple just dot delete, and then it should, but you
Yep.
can decide on which thing you want to delete.
And that document, that DC is the ID for the document. So that, which is exactly why I changed our document IDs to be the item names. So we can just stick the item name of the item
Oh,
in there.
that's actually really good.
A done deal.
So once you delete it, what do you think you have to do then? Like, do you think you just call this line and you're done, or do you think there's more?
After we delete it?
Yeah.
It would be nice if there's some sort of like successfully deleted this thing, but that
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah, we can stick a little alert in there, just like we have for item added and stuff like that, just to confirm.
Yeah.
Do you think that when you call db.collection.delete, do you think that the UI is going to automatically update, or do you think you have to do something to update it?
I don't know. I think that because we have that use effect going in there, it probably will update. I look forward to clicking around and finding out.
That would be something I think to keep in mind when you're testing it, because I actually am not entirely sure. I would have to play around with it, but it's something to keep in mind, I think.
Okay.
If it'll refresh the page. Okay. Yeah, I put
Let's
that on.
say it doesn't update.
Yeah.
Let's say when you call it, it doesn't update. What do you think you have to do after that?
Well, we'll have to
Good
re-render
question.
the list if that's what's keeping it from updating, right? Because that's the thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's in the database.
How would you re-render the list?
So that might be a condition that maybe we put in our use effect that's somehow related to changing to the somehow related to the delete function.
You're using a react.useState, right? Or just the useState function for storing the items on the
database
in the app.
Exactly.
I think that when you call the updater function, so it's like set DB items, I think that's what it's called in our code. I think that it'll re-render the component that uses that state.
Oh, okay,
so
yeah.
that might be something that you want to track down.
It's in there. That's in the use effect. That's where the DB items are set to state. So every time that changes, use effect will kick in and re-render.
Okay, that might work then.
Okay.
We'll play around with it. It might be way easier than I might be taking us down a rabbit hole here.
Okay.
Cool.
So I guess to wrap or to highlight what we discussed then, we discussed a UI change, right? So we add a button to allow them to trigger the delete. And then we're looking at this documentation here, and I think there'll be some testing and playing around with it, but we'll look at this delete function for getting rid of it. and then we have to make sure that the UI updates. And we, I like the idea of also of adding in like a confirmation message. Those are nice.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
Does anyone have any other thoughts about this one?
I think this will be a little bit more straightforward than the last one. Just because of having that ID sorted out, it make things so much easier.
Oh, it's such a good feeling when you like give future you a high five by solving some like tech debt, and then when you have a ticket that should have been really hard, but you're like, oh, it's gonna be way easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
That's how I felt from last week. I'm like, this will be easy. And I'm like, oh wait,
Yeah,
no.
I knew last week was going to be hard. I was ready emotionally.
Yeah, both of those tickets were kind of abstract in terms of like how you solve them. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
So I've got notes here, and I'll just stick these in Slack for us, and so we'll have them.
Good.
Yeah, awesome. And then, so just as an action item, so generally when we leave meetings at work, we like to follow up with action items, just so we don't like drop everything on the ground. So as an action item, do y'all want to just check in with each other maybe Tuesday? So even if we haven't written a line of code, which is totally fine. And I actually would kind of expect that unless either of you are feeling like super adventurous, but just on Tuesday, just check in maybe, hey, I'd like to pair program this day, or hey, I did some research and this might not be the right Firebase function for us. We'll just check in on Slack on Tuesday. How does that sound?
Okay,
Sounds
that
good.
sounds great.
Because don't you start your new job tomorrow too, Rachel?
Actually, my
Thursday.
background check is taking a few days longer than expected.
Oh,
I know,
Oh.
but at the same time, it's like, oh, thank God, I actually need to like go to the DMV and whatever. So it might not be until Wednesday.
okay. Just in case if maybe want to move it to Monday, but either way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old background check.
Early week should be open. Not sure about late.
Yeah, that's going to make time management harder for me, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Sorry again for being late today. So, but I
That's okay.
appreciate y'all accepting me for my flaws, or with my flaws.
Of course we do. I have to.
All right. So 7 o'clock. We're all good.
Yeah.
All right. I will see you all on Slack.
Awesome. See
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thanks again.
Adios.
Bye.